Hey, good evening, Map here, Map Investments. I'll give you a recap. Yesterday and today, got caught up yesterday, didn't do a video, so do a weekend wrap here, and maybe do some more videos over the weekend, depending. The markets have been pretty volatile and choppy, and not liking what the Fed has done and said. Today they came out with some banking, relaxing some banking rules. So we'll take a look at that in the news headlines and CNBC. But overall, let's take a look what the dollar did. The dollar was down some to 91. It was actually strong during the day. It was up to 92 more or less, and then it sold off. Got a nice sell off there at the end of the day, as you can see, to 91.74. But it was at a high of 92.16 for the day. Currencies, the yen was a little green and the loonie was a little green. The rest were down. Bitcoin up 1,080 to 58,445. Let me take a look at what PayPal was up 287. And let me take a look at Square. Square was up 54 cents. I know Visa, another payment processing stock, was hit today with news that the DOJ, Department of Justice, plans to open a probe into their debit practices. So I know it sliced through the 50-day moving average, which is about 210, and I think the 200-day average was about 205. So Visa on a big pullback. I did a put credit spread 40 plus days out. See if we get a bounce there. I don't think that probe or anything will materialize, but that's the chance I'll take. I think it's a value play. Crude oil, oil bounced back $1.45 to 61.51. I think there was chatter of obviously you know how it goes. If the oil goes down, eventually they'll make up a story or something of an attack. There was news today on something about an attack on oil up over there in the Middle East. But anyways, oil got hit yesterday very, very hard. I want to say it was down $6 to about 58 and change, and today we're up 2.5%. So we got to bounce back today on oil. Natural gas was down yesterday to about 240 on the EIA report, and we got a nice bounce back to 254 on the nat gas. Now, nat gas has been one of the commodities that, let me pull up this screener here, and let's take a look at how these assets have been performing for, let's say, for the last month. So, like, we know what's going on. Performance here, and then let's look it up for the last month. So, natural gas is down for the month 17%. And do your research. There were some articles there by Goldman Sachs and some other investment firms saying that eventually net gas has to climb. If you want to play net gas and not use the futures, the futures are NG. Right here, NG is this one. And this one is another one. Those are the futures. This one takes up about $800 in margin, and this one takes $3,500. So you can also play with UNG. What I did today is I bought some calls in UNG. You can play it in UNG. I bought some calls in UNG. I bought them out in time, about a year out, to give me some time. And I bought 10, 11, and 12, which I think 12 was resistance on the chart. But I think it's a commodity that's underpriced, and hopefully over time inventories will get tight, and the price also will appreciate. Because I look for further weakness in the dollar. So I'm looking for maybe some commodities that might be undervalued. The S&P was down 9 to 38.96. The 2-day chart on the S&P, let's look up 15-minute chart. So we had a 39.78 in the last 2 days was the high. So we weren't too far from 4,000, and we hit a low of 38.75. Closed at under 3,900. The market seems tired to me. We'll see what happens. Gold is holding up in there. Gold sold off after hit over 17. Let me pull up the chart today here. It hit a high of 1754 on the Fed day, and then rolled back to 1716, and we're back almost up to 1750 again. And I expect gold to stay strong. You can play gold with this contract or this small contract. The small contract's this one. It's 1,100, and I think this contract is the most economical and smartest way to play gold, in my opinion. Hogs were 94.25. They're doing hogs, bacon, pig has been very strong. Coppers at 410, very strong. You guys know I like FCX to be correlated to copper. Hog, it's a pretty violent contract. I think it's about 2,000 in margin. If you want some exposure to pig or meat, you can go with Tyson Food, which is undervalued, in my opinion. Tyson Food. I think we could see Tyson Food back up to almost 100 with time. That's just my opinion. I think with chicken supplies tightening up and pork prices heading up, these guys can do pretty good. And you also can look at PPC. I think that's Pilgrim. It's almost at a 52-week high. And these guys are into chicken. So if you want some exposure to the meat complex. And that's the way I go about things and look at things. I compare where I can leverage my capital the best, where I can get the best return, ROI on my capital, and look for the best product that has correlation to these futures, because these futures are basically everything that moves the world. Talked about copper and FCX. What did FCX do today? I think it was down. A lot of the reflation trades weren't too hot today. It's down 43 cents to 35. What else? Let's see here. Lumber 32 at 886, and I like WY as a lumber play. WY was down 59 cents to 33.88. WY is a REIT like Timberland acreage play for lumber. Cattle was pretty flat at 118. That's another meat. Small caps, 22.82 up 20. They've been hit pretty hard, but that's one of the indexes that's been pretty hot. And actually now they are pretty flat for the 1 month performance. And we'll take a look and see what's performing and what's not performing on the 1 month on these assets. So we can pick up on some trends. NASDAQ eked out a gain of 46, but NASDAQ was down like 400 points yesterday with bond rates yields increasing. Dow Jones got hit pretty hard today, down to 257, being that a lot of financials in the Dow Jones, and we'll read an article that came out today by the Fed in regards to laxing some kind of rule in regards to I think bond purchases. We'll take a look at it. I haven't done my due diligence and research on that, but that's one of the things I plan on doing on the weekend. I do have for financial, let me get a swig of water here. If you want exposure to the To the financials, I recommend the XLF, so you don't have to pick individual names. I have a call calendar where the 35 calls are going to expire today, but I'm going to keep the 35 calls out in time. So these will expire tomorrow. The 35s I sold here, and I still have the 35s out 28 days. So hopefully I can get a good pop in financials. I think rates are still going to climb. I don't think there's nothing the Fed can do unless they really get in the long end of the yield curve and start yield curve control, which is going to entail printing more money, and that's very, very bullish for the metals. Platinum and palladium were down. And my favorite ones to play those assets are SPP, which I added to my position. It's an ETF. You got and you got PAL. This one is palladium, and there was another one. I don't recall the other one. There's another one. If I remember, I'll let you know. But SPP gives you both of best of both worlds. Silver hung in there, pretty impressive. 26.34. Nice way to play the silver is through the SLV. Think this is probably the most efficient way. Up 21 cents to 24.31 on the SLV. The VIX was down 75 cents to 23.55. All the grains were up. Corn was popping. Soybeans was popping. Wheat has been weak in regards to the grain complex. Interest rates. So the 30-year was up 8 ticks, and the 10-year was down 1.5. 2-year was up, and 5-year was down. Interesting. So these products move. ZB moves fast. The 30-year, the ETF correlated to the Z/ZB 30-year and 10-year would be. For the 30-year would be the TLT, and it was up 83 cents today. It cracked through 135. So maybe we're getting a dead cat bounce here. But interest rates are bound to climb with inflation, with all the talk about inflation. Now, for the 10-year, there's an ETF called the IEF, and this is for the 7-10-year Treasury. This is comparable. This is a correlated ETF to the future. So I hope that helps. So if you want to get some exposure, and those that I have mentioned have options, so you can do options in there instead of doing the futures, because I know the futures can be a little leverage and move a little bit fast, and they can damage you pretty quick. So that's why I'm trying to give you options. I'm trying to give you ETFs that have options, that give you options. So we talked about Visa getting hammered. The bond market is dictating stock trading, obviously. Higher rates affects companies. One of the headlines here, rate fears are getting the blame for weak market, but other factors are at play. Brokerage job, Webull seeing activity increase as stimulus. So I guess a lot of people are putting stimulus to work in the market. What I wanted to read was this was very important. This was the headline today that caused banks to sell off. Let's take a listen to Steve Leaksman, see what he says.
Imagine your best self. You have the power to become
There's an
that
advertising.
person. Keep advancing.
Pretty much, the Federal Reserve is announcing that it will not renew the capital relief it had provided for the largest banks that came with the
Will
Treasury
not
market
renew
disruption
capital relief for
from the
banks.
pandemic a year ago. The relief from the so-called supplementary leverage ratio is going to expire as planned March 31st. That is as scheduled. Now, the board saying, the Federal Reserve Board, that is saying it will seek comment to adjust the supplementary leverage ratio over time, but not immediately. It's saying it may need to adjust the design and calibration of it over time. Fed officials in a background call saying the Treasury market has stabilized. They are not anticipating any disruption in the Treasury markets and confident this will not create constraints at this time. They say the large banks have $200 billion in excess capital even after the suspension is lifted. Carl, this SLR relief allowed the banks to hold treasuries and other reserves and not have to reserve against them. Now they will, but the Fed's saying the banks still have excess capital. We'll see how the Treasury markets and banks in general trade as a result of this decision by the Federal Reserve.
So hope that helps. And here's the article. Allow banks to exclude treasuries and deposits with Fed banks from the calculation of the leverage ratio. I don't think the bank stocks liked the news. I think they were all down. Let's take a look here. Bar chart. Active options. All right, so Bank of America was down 41 cents to $38. Wells Fargo down 3% almost to $39.63. I want to see what JP Morgan down $2.50 to $155. So the financial sector got, hit on that news. Citigroup down 83 cents. Didn't get hit that hard compared to the other ones. I know Goldman Sachs was down too. Goldman Sachs, GS. Down 380. So it's getting a little bit tougher right now. The market's getting tough. I think having some cash is not a bad idea, and I'm still a believer of the weakening dollar and the reflation trade. Your Alcoas, your energy plays, your metal plays, your miners, your shippers. Being bullish on the bank still, I think, because I think interest rates are gonna go higher. I think all that stuff will work. Being selective with tech, because if rates go higher, some of these tech stocks are still overvalued, so we can still see some pressure on them. And agricultural plays like John Deere, Mosaic for fertilizer, maybe even some food stocks. That's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm focusing on. If I see some little small caps here and there, I may dabble and have some speculation plays. But for the most part, not seeing too much action and not a lot of volume on small cap stuff as of late. And the market's getting a little bit tougher right now. So try and be as diversified as possible. Maybe have a little bit of, like when I go through these futures, have a little bit of everything. A little bit of Bitcoin exposure through PayPal and Square. Have your oil plays, natural gas. Have some, maybe some exposure to tech through the chips. Have some financials for interest rates. Have some agricultural plays for the food sector, and play it that way. Well, anyways, like the channel, subscribe, share with your friends and family, and have a great weekend.